Good evening. I am your host, RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor at criticalblast.com, where pop culture gets blasted. Always got to remember that tagline, always be branding. And we have a couple of things we want to talk about tonight. May take an hour, may take 6. I do not know. There's a lot to unpack here. Right now, I have no guests on the line, so I really have no need of these earbuds, do I? I'll take those out. So as I wrote in the description, I want to talk a little bit about the Batwoman series on CW. And after that, jump into Watchmen for a little bit. And then just try to figure out what the hell is going on with what used to be called Comicsgate and maybe what it is today. First, I want to show my Tom King Batman shirt. See? Bat, cat, bat, cat. See, get it? It's like 17 random panels from the 100 issue run. Bat, cat. So see, I don't even know what you would call that. Bat, cat, cat, bat. I saw it. My wife said you have to have it. I'm like, yes, dear. And it's cool. I like it. It makes people talk. I've never seen another one like it, so it's fairly unique. Books A Million closeout sale. So, Batwoman. By Batwoman Betrayed, I feel. And why do I say this? Because I've been watching every episode. I haven't missed a one, and we've been reporting on them at Critical Blast, and our reviews get linked over at IMDb, along with other, external review links. And I've been standing up for this show since episode 1. I, like everyone else, had seen the more than woke trailers that made it look like she was going to be a misanthropic, uber feminist who, was out to prove something. And I was very happy in the first episode to find out that this was not that. It was not what it appeared to be in the trailer. And I had said that the marketing department for this series needed to be fired because they were tanking the ratings before the show could even appear. And since that first episode, I've been trying to stand up for this series on an ongoing basis and convince people that it is not as bad as everyone has said it is, that it's actually a very good show, that it is not these things that people are saying about it. Well, apparently the Batwoman writers have maybe been paying attention and realized that they should make it what everyone was saying about it. And so we get the episode last night, which was Tell Me the Truth. And boy, howdy, did they ever ruin anything they had going. Basically, this episode is about the hunt for a stolen gun. This was an experimental gun manufactured by Jacob Kane's new wife's company. And this was a gun they started developing years ago. It was a gun specifically designed to penetrate the bat suit. Now, in Gotham City, that's the equivalent of a company that, is working specifically to manufacture kryptonite because we want to take down the world's greatest hero. Why a company would do that? Well, I can imagine why a company might do that. What if Batman goes rogue? It's a very Batman-like decision to come up with something that would take him down. I mean, it's not like such a weapon would ever fall into the wrong hands because, Catherine's company had super tight security and there was no way that anybody was ever going to get in there and steal it. And oh crap, it's in the wrong hands now, and they have to go find it because somebody stole it. And the only 3 people who knew how to build it have all been killed. I love plot devices like that. This is 2019. If you're going to tell me that, oh my gosh, the only guy who knew how to build this already built machine is dead, I'm going to wonder where he filed the patents, who he stored the blueprints with, what the network device looks like that he was working on. Nothing happens in a vacuum like this. So it's ridiculous to sit here and think that only 3 people in the world knew how a piece of technology that went together like this. This is not the super soldier formula that we kept in our head to keep the Russians from getting it. That's not even what's bad about this episode. What's bad about this episode, I'll get to. But needless to say, they get the weapon back. Alice is involved, Kate's sister. But the thrust of the episode is that Kate is wondering whether or not she can trust Sophie. Sophie, her gay lover from the military academy, who is now married to Mr. Token Heterosexual, because she had to stay in the academy and deny her homosexuality. No, you can't trust Sophie. And the scene where she finds this out is she goes into this very upscale restaurant and she's wearing sneakers. They make a point of saying, "Oh, you're wearing your sneakers and your best kicks." And she sits down at a table with Sophie. She's just looking across from her. They haven't even ordered anything other than something to drink yet. And the manager comes over and tells Kate that, "I'm very sorry, we have a dress policy and your sneakers are not part of the policy." Now, Kate, rather than saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I should have worn better shoes," Kate's very confrontational. She already knows that that's not the reason she's being kicked out. She's being kicked out because she's gay. Now, she's right. That was the guy's reasoning. So either Kate has super psychic powers or she has, her jacket on that's embroidered "I am gay" on the back of it, because there was nothing going on in the scene that would indicate her sexuality in any way whatsoever. I mean, if having a lunch date with somebody of the same sex and sitting across the table from them indicates your preference, we've all got something to discuss then. This was horrible bit of plotting, and it was all to drive the ending of the story. It was just to gin up Kate's indignation at being, persecuted once more. This is 2019. Nobody's going to kick you out of a restaurant because you're gay. Moving along, she is also introduced to Julia Pennyworth, reintroduced to Julia Pennyworth in this episode. That's Alfred Pennyworth's daughter, who's another kick-ass secret agent for the United Kingdom. And guess what? She's gay too. There is not a heterosexual woman in all of Batwoman, I think, except maybe for her stepsister Mary. We're not even sure about that because we haven't seen her date anybody yet. We'll have to watch and see where Mary's love life goes, because it will go somewhere. It's a CW show. Everyone gets a relationship. Not only is she gay, but she had a thing with Kate in the past. After Kate got kicked out of the military academy and went on her world tour of training, cousin Bruce was worried about her, wanted to send someone to check on her. He said, "Oh, she's in the UK. She's having this. Julia, why don't you go teach her Krav Maga and pretend to be a Krav Maga instructor?" And during that time, Julia pretends to be someone else. They have a fling. Kate finds out that Julia is actually Alfred's daughter and assumes that, the feelings that you said you had are also fake. And then she feels betrayed yet again, moves on. Long story short, she uses Julia to help convince Sophie that Kate and Batwoman are two different people by having the old Pennyworth switch. Like Batman used to have Alfred dress up in the bat suit and stand over in an area and just talk with the Batman voice while Bruce Wayne stood next to Commissioner Gordon. They said, they're both in the same place. They can't be the same person. That's the trope we got tonight. And then at the end of the episode, Kate buys a piece of property and she's going to turn it into a bar. It's across the street from the restaurant that kicked her out, and she's going to turn it into a gay bar. She's hanging up a rainbow flag curtain as the episode closes out, because every CW show is super friends. You have a place to go home, you have a place to be at work, and you have the place where you drink. You're either in the West House, at Star Labs, or at Jitters. You're either in the Queen apartment, in the bunker, or at Verdant. You're now going to be either in the Batcave, at the Crow's headquarters, or at whatever she's going to name this new gay bar. So, yes, Batwoman, I'm sorry, but as much as you felt betrayed by Sophie, I now feel betrayed by you. Why did you do this to me? I stood up for you. I said this was not going to be a show about identity. I said this was a show featuring a gay character, not a show pushing gay characters. And yet you go and do this to me. I'm flabbergasted. You got a lot to make up for, and this episode alone deserves deserves for you to be canceled. For our part here, I can only think of one punishment suitable for you. I am going to have to give you to Cecil for the week, and you'll just have to listen and learn at the feet of the master. Cecil, you fix her up. Make sure that next episode is better. Can you do that? Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm sure Cecil will do exactly what needs to be done, because Cecil has a way with the ladies. Just saying. A second here for a trademarked tug glove. It's another 25 bucks. I owe that umbrella guy. All right, next show, Watchmen. I've heard awful things about Watchmen. I don't want to say I like Watchmen now, because I said that about Batwoman, and look where that got me. I like Watchmen. I like where it's going. And I think it's got a lot of potential, a lot of questions that it raises. A lot of those questions were answered with this last episode. I had wondered why the squid rains were happening, because as a reader, we know that the giant squid invasion was a fake. And since we know that Adrian Veidt is imprisoned, we kind of assumed that the world knew and that he was a villain now. Some of that might be echoes of Doomsday Clock, because the world knew there as well. He was reviled as a villain. But apparently that's not the case. Apparently the world at large still believes that this was an alien invasion of some kind. Which begs the question, who's perpetuating the squid rains to maintain this, since Adrian Veidt is imprisoned? Now, I almost call him Mirror Mask. That's a Neil Gaiman book. Looking Glass. We get a little bit of his background in this last episode. And he was on site at the invasion point and has mental issues from it, in case we couldn't tell that throughout the past episodes. And he doesn't want to have his mind invaded psychically by beings from another dimension, which is why he literally is wearing tinfoil all over his head to keep them out. He makes an encounter with the cavalry people, the Rorschach masks, the white supremacists of the series. And it turns out they are not necessarily white supremacists. They have a lot of them in there, and they use them for that purpose, but they have another purpose entirely. See, they have a recording from Adrian Veidt from 1985 addressed to Robert Redford in 1992, because Veidt knew that Redford would win. He's predicted all of this stuff. And Veidt goes through the entire process of what he did and how it's a hoax. So that tells me that perhaps the government has found a way to continue using the teleportation devices, which the guys in the Rorschach mask also have and are testing for their big plan, to rain down squids in random places around the world, so that people continue to believe there are dimensional breaches and that they have to always be on guard. Looking Glass is always on guard. He's calling up his alarm company because he's like, hey, I went to the bomb shelter, I hit the button and it didn't go off. And they're like, well, it should be that simple. He's like, I've run 500 tests on this thing. I'm like, well, that's your problem. You're testing it too damn much. He's like, I know how to test something. That's how paranoid he is. He keeps running tests on his alarm system. So if the government hasn't imprisoned Veidt, who has? Now, the prevailing theory is that it's Dr. Manhattan. But why would Dr. Manhattan care? He didn't care. At the end of the series of Watchmen, he agreed that it was the thing to do, and then he went off to create some human life somewhere else. Well, there's a theory in quantum physics, and I don't recall the exact name of it when it was explained to me, but it's basically that transfer of heat generally goes from the hotter object to the colder object. But in very rare circumstances, the colder object can transfer its heat to the hotter object, which means that if you have an infinite number of pots of water set on an infinite number of burners, one of them will freeze. And that would be Dr. Manhattan. He was the guy in the intrinsic chamber who had his intrinsic field removed, and miraculously, the thermodynamic miracle, was able to put himself back together. Well, the theory also says that once one of them happens, another one can happen, and it will be in proximity to the first one. Now, we've already heard reference to intrinsic fields in Watchmen, the HBO series, and it's not a secret origin of how Dr. Manhattan was created. At least it's not secret to people who saw him come together and the people who ran the base. So it goes without saying that perhaps since the very first day Dr. Manhattan appeared and revealed his self to the world, the military or the government or some agency would have people lined up daily to enter this intrinsic field chamber and see if they could repeat the process. That is the scientific method, in a nutshell, a repeatable process. So what if this game warden, who has Adrian imprisoned on what seems to be another planet, although if it's another planet, there's a satellite orbiting over it. It still could be an orbiting satellite over Mars. This is a futuristic tech world we're in here, since Dr. Manhattan invented a lot of technology. What if he is somebody who has been granted powers like Dr. Manhattan's, perhaps different from Dr. Manhattan's, and is using them to punish Veidt for what happened? It's a possibility. If there's one superpowered being created on a planet, then the odds are that another one will be created on the same planet, near the same time and near the same place. That's just another thought that I'm thinking of about who this person is that's imprisoned Adrian Veidt. It's definitely somebody who's superpowered. I don't think it's Dr. Manhattan. I don't think we'll see Dr. Manhattan. So yeah, it's got me a little bit hooked now. I'll continue to watch it, see what Damon Lindelof is trying to pull off here. I love some of the shots that are being done in this thing. The shot where Sister Knight took off her goggles and laid them on the ground, and the camera pulls back, and we're seeing Laurie Blake through one of the lenses and not through the other one. It's very, very reminiscent of the scene where she's seen through Night Owl's goggles in the book. A lot of the scenes are callbacks to scenes we saw in the book, and a lot of them are just scenes that look like they could have come out of the book. So I think overall Lindelof is trying to do something that's definitely a logical extension of what could have happened from Watchmen. Of course, Rorschach's journal does not seem to have been read, or at least taken seriously. Perhaps it was confiscated by the government when they got word of Veidt's plan and they looked it up, or maybe someone tried to write it and got caught midstream and was yanked by the government. We don't know. It might even be in the hands of the cavalry members, because they have used phrases that we've seen in the book and in Watchmen itself, where the publisher tells Seymour, just grab me something off the crank pile. I'll leave it entirely in your hands. Well, they tell Looking Glass guy that here's the information we're going to give you. We leave it entirely in your hands. It's another callback there. So that's Watchmen. That leads me to my third topic for tonight, and it's not really one I want to talk about. Comicsgate. When Comicsgate was a thing, was a new thing, I was very supportive of it. I saw where they were coming from. I was, recommended to watch some of Richard C. Meyer's videos and, consider them as part of the criticism of the current state of comics. And I found myself agreeing with him. And then other people started joining in, and I saw the movement grow from a couple of video reviewers. And I know people were reviewing this before Richard C. Meyer and making the same statements. I was not there then, so I cannot speak to what happened then. I saw this phenomenal growth. I saw all these people come together, and I thought that this was going to be a beautiful thing. I saw people rail against it, some of them for reasons. Some of them were railing against an entire group because of the action of a few individuals. Some of them railing against it because of the actions of Richard C. Meyer, and I still don't, as the meme goes, Richard didn't do nothing. In fact, of all of Comicsgate, and I'll include Ethan Van Sciver and Mike Miller in this, of all of Comicsgate, perhaps the only one who has not moved or deviated from their position has been Richard C. Meyer. He's still doing what he always did, making his comic books and critiquing comics using the same philosophy that he started out with. So that's consistency. There's been no waffling. There's been no flip-flopping, changing back and sides, pulling in, putting back out, pulling out, putting back in. I don't know, whatever you want to do with it. And now we come to today, where we're dealing with what I'm seeing as a balkanization of Comicsgate. You had this huge united ball, and it's not just, I used to compare it to church schism, where you had the Catholic Church, and then Martin Luther made the Reformation, and then all the rest of the Protestant organizations sort of grew out of that, difference of opinion, different interpretations, and all of a sudden you have many different flavors of Christianity. You've got the Baskin Robbins of the Bible here, and it's all ice cream, so it's all good. But with balkanization, you have separation, but you also have antagonism. Now, yeah, I know history, and Fox's Book of Martyrs, there was antagonism all along the way. It's not there now. Maybe Comicsgate will get to that point at some point in the future, but you have these mutually aggressive states within Comicsgate now. And if Comicsgate is going to grow beyond the people who are already in it, it better get past that, and it better get past it damn fast. Because if somebody decides that, someone proselytizes someone outside of Comicsgate and says, hey, you should come in here, people are making money, people are making comics, we're doing great things, and they come in and they look at this and they're saying, okay, great, here's what I do and make my comic. Okay, I'm doing IGG, great. You're going to support me on your channel? Wonderful. I'll talk about it. Who's this guy? What do they mean? Who's this Edwin person that they're talking about? Why is Mike Miller angry at me? What is Kelsey saying about me? Who are these people who are, I didn't say anything to this person. Why? I'm all of a sudden I'm blocked from people. I like that person. Why are they blocking me? It's insane. And all it does is it makes every side pissed off at every other side. There's not even two sides to it anymore. There's 5 different tribes within Comicsgate right now, and I'm sure after Christmas there'll be another 2 or 3 more added to that, because the groups that are split off will probably find other reasons to split off. And some of the separate ones will probably merge into new Comicsgate states. There was at one point where John Delarose and Edwin Boyette were at odds with each other over political philosophical differences, and now they're kind of on the same team here, which is great. I wanted them to be on the same team, but I wanted us to all be on the same team, which was making comic books. I'm sure at some point, if somebody's got antithetical differences in the beginning and they get over them and they come together, those differences are going to rise again. So I expect more splits from some of the unifications to come along. I don't know. It's getting to where it's difficult to decide who to follow. So for right now, I'm still following all of them, unless I get blocked. If someone blocks me, I block them back. It's just policy. But as far as support, that I'm finding it hard to support anybody. Now, some people don't produce anything, so there's nothing to support. But you know, I was in a situation a year ago where I needed support, and I relied on Comicsgate community to help me out. So I was able to make my case on Ethan's channel. I was with that umbrella guy on a channel, the stream discussion. I was on Edwin Boyette's channel. All of these people who are now in different camps were there for me at one point. And I'm not going to come out and attack any of them. I don't think that's productive. I think that's very counterproductive. I also think it's rather ungrateful if I were to do any of that stuff. Now, that's not to say that, none of these people might burn a bridge too far, where I would say, okay, you know what, I can't have anything to do with that. You're burning kittens now. I don't care if you let me on your channel. I can't. Yeah, sorry, that's nothing I'm going to do about. So right now I'm trying to be everyone's friend, but I'm kind of that guy in the back seat of the car who's friends with everybody in the car who hates each other. I don't like it when mommy and daddy fight. It makes me nervous. And I don't even know what the fight is about. And I don't think anybody does. I mean, this discussion right now about Edwin Boyette and the Brightwisers and Kelsey and Walmart, we're sitting here seeing people argue this out on Twitter today, and no one can tell me what happened. No one has any definitive proof of what happened, and it was only 2 weeks ago. So there hasn't been time for the Mandela effect to set in. This is the 2-week-old process. Someone can figure out the order of events that things happened in and decide whether or not, yes, this person tried to call Walmart and cause a problem for the Brightwiser's new distribution system because they didn't like what one person said on a live stream. Someone can figure this out if they put it together. It's 2 weeks old. There's no reason why it should be gone. Someone saw it. Someone has it. DM me. I'd be glad to be the person to put it all out there in a cohesive, straightforward manner, because it's a story that needs to be told, if only to have the definitive story out there so people can quit speculating on what they think happened. It's just crazy to me how this game of telephone can get so widespread in such a short time and have absolutely nobody know what happened. And I was there when it happened, and I don't even know exactly what happened. It was my belief that Edwin was talking on the live stream about how he didn't like what Kelsey was saying, and that it was implicated that Walmart should be contacted about the distribution deal. And then Mitch was in the live stream, Mitch Brightwiser, confronting Edwin. And at some point, to my memory, again, 2 weeks ago, and already I have no idea what happened. I believe that the live stream had been taken down at some point so that whatever comments were there could not be found and then brought back up in an edited form. I don't know. If somebody saw that, can confirm that that happened, again, DM us. I want to know. I want to get the story out there clear, straight, and without bias. We do editorial pieces where we put our opinion out there. I mean, a review is an opinion, but a straightforward statement of events is something that is also beneficial and something that we do when we have the opportunity to do that. This looks like something where we should have the opportunity to do that. So, and I think that if we had that opportunity, we could say, yes, this definitively happened, it could help go forward in the healing of Comicsgate, because we'd have, a single source of truth about something, and less speculation leads to less arguing, leads to less splits. I don't know. I still support Comicsgate as an idea. I still support all of my friends that have remained my friends. I think that some of my friends are doing some of my other friends wrong. And I think that there's a way to point that out without them becoming not my friends. Doesn't mean it's going to be comfortable or easy or without argument, but I don't think it's impossible. I think, we can say, hey, that thing you did there, can you see how maybe that was kind of a jerk move? You might want to fix that. And who knows, that might fix things. Anyway, I'm just very frustrated watching all of it happen. I'm watching a lot of good people be told that they're bad people. And I don't think that any of them are bad people. I think they have different understandings of things. And I think sometimes they do bad things with hopefully good intention. I think you can do a call out on this without creating enemies. I'd like to do that. I'd like to make people realize that the things they've done are fixable before they become unfixable, before they go on for so long and that feelings are so hurt that there is no chance of reconciliation. Let's make that happen. I'm open to ideas. If anybody wants to DM me at Critical Blast at Twitter, you don't have to put something in the comments here where it's public. You can DM us. We'll be happy to chat with you about thoughts about how to make Comicsgate greater, how to fix it up, how to patch it back together, how to make it, once again, this beautiful organism that was producing creative material where everyone was all hashtag Team Comics instead of all these factions that have split up. Anyway, guess I didn't have 6 hours worth of it in me after all. It just felt like a lot more from all the frustration I was going through watching Twitter today. Thank you for coming by. If you like this kind of content, of course, blah, 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 channel subscribe, hit bell, you know the drill. Thanks.